Tracy presenta el programa Fénix. La psicología del logro.
Session 15, 5 Keys to Goal Setting.
We started this seminar asking the question, why is it that some people are more successful than others? And a friend of mine who's been working in this industry for many years told me a story that I think you'll enjoy and which I found very relevant. He said that he invited, as the deacon of his church, he invited a Jewish gentleman to come to his church, a Christian church, and speak to the congregation on comparative religion, how the Jewish religion compared with the Christian religion. Well, the Jewish gentleman came after several weeks, and he stood up, and he began his talk. And he said, ladies and gentlemen, he said, I've examined your books, and I've examined our books. He said, I've examined your basic teachings, and I've examined our basic teachings, and I've come to this conclusion. He said, the Bible and the Talmud and all of our books say that the two great rules of life are to love God and to love your neighbor as yourself. He said, ladies and gentlemen, all else is commentary. All else is commentary. He said, we've been working in the field of success for 25 years, and we sat down around the table not too long ago, and we said, what is success? What are the determinants of success? And the unanimous conclusion was simply this. Ladies and gentlemen, success is goals, and all else is commentary. Success is goals, and all else is commentary. And I don't think there's anything that you'll ever learn that is truer than that. During the course of this seminar, we've talked about many different laws, the law of attraction, law of correspondence, law of belief, expectation, and so on. But you find that the only way to utilize all of those laws, or the easiest way to utilize all of those laws, is just to simply set a goal. When you set a goal, what do you believe in? A goal. What do you expect to happen? A goal. What do you attract into your life? People and circumstances in harmony with your goal. What does the law of correspondence affect? That your outer world will harmonize with your inner world with your goal. What do you concentrate on? Your goal. What do you plant in your subconscious? Your goal. What do you use for the law of substitution? A goal. A goal makes it possible for you to bring to bear all the laws of the universe to help to make you successful without even thinking about any of the laws. That's why in every single study of successful men and women, you find intense goal orientation. And yet even knowing that success is dependent upon goals, crucially dependent upon goals, we find that less than 5% of the population have goals at all. I once wrote a paper or an article for a newspaper, and the quote they pulled out of the newspaper was, those who do not have goals are condemned forever to work for those who do. If you don't have goals for your life, you are condemned forever to help other people achieve their goals. In fact, in 1953, one of the famous studies, in 1953 at Yale University, they did a survey amongst the graduating class of seniors, and they asked them, amongst other questions, do you have goals and have you made plans for their accomplishment? They found that only 3% of the graduating seniors of one of the most favored classes that ever graduated from an Ivy League college in America had goals. Well, they went back in 1973, 20 years later, and they asked them, amongst other things, how much money are you worth today versus how much you were worth in 1953? And they found that the 3% who had set goals at the beginning of their careers were worth more in financial terms than the entire other 97% put together. Now, this is a phenomenal accomplishment, but it is not unusual. As a matter of fact, every statistic that I've looked at in studying goal setting, and I have been a fanatic on the subject of goal setting for years, shows that only 3%, 1 in 30, has clear, specific, written goals with action plans for their accomplishment. Now, let me say this, is that the ability to set goals and the ability to make action plans for their accomplishment is the master skill of success. It is the master skill. It is the most important single skill that you can ever learn. And through the course of what we're going to talk about now, if you can learn to set and accomplish one major goal, it can be the most important thing that you ever discover. More important than math, more important than science, more important than computer technology, more important than sales skills is the ability to set goals. Because once you have set goals, you trigger into force what is called the cybernetic goal-seeking mechanism of the brain. The cybernetic goal-seeking mechanism is this mechanism that once you've program the brain or impress the brain into your subconscious, you tend to move automatically and unerringly toward the goal, and the goal tends to move toward you. It's almost as if you set into motion a whole series of cosmic forces that cause you to move unerringly even though you do not know where the goal is. And we'll talk about that and why that works a little bit later. It is to say that within you is a mechanism that will lead you unerringly toward what you want to accomplish as long as you know what it is. The great H.L. Hunt, the oil billionaire, was asked his secrets of success on a television program some years ago, and he said there's only two things you need to know to be successful. He said, number one, he said, decide exactly what you want. He said, number two, determine the price you're going to have to pay, and then resolve to pay that price. But the great problem is that most people don't know what they want. In our civilization, in our society, you can have anything that you want in life, but 95% of the population has either a vague idea of what they want or no idea at all. And by the time this session is over, I'm sure that will be changed a little bit for you. Setting goals is the master skill of success. I think that goal setting should be taught in kindergarten and first grade and second grade, right up to every single year of school. There should be some module and some process of teaching young people to set goals. It would guarantee greater success, faster and easier in life than any other single skill that a person can develop. No matter how old you are, no matter where you are today, the sooner you learn to develop the master skill of success by practice and repetition over and over again until you become completely focused as a goal-achieving human being, the sooner you learn it, the faster you will accomplish great things in your life. Now, an interesting point. Each of us has what we call a failure mechanism in life. The failure mechanism goes off automatically. The vast majority of people fail to live up to their potential. They fail to become everything they're capable of becoming, over 80%. And the failure mechanism is what we call the comfort zone. It's the tendency to fall into a comfort zone, to do what is easy, not to avoid making the efforts necessary to succeed. Now, this failure mechanism goes off automatically. From the time we are infants, we talked earlier about the pleasure principle. We always move toward what is pleasurable, what is easy, what is fun, what is enjoyable, and we move away from what is uncomfortable, what is difficult, what requires discipline, what requires effort, and so on. However, the only way to override this failure mechanism is by activating your success mechanism. And your success mechanism is triggered by a goal. Whenever you write out a goal, you override the failure mechanism. Whenever you think about a goal, you override the failure mechanism. You see, when you set a goal, it releases positive energy. It builds up drive and desire. It gives you persistence. It gives you clarity of thought. It gives you intensity of purpose. And it moves you forward towards your objective. The only way you can break out of the comfort zone is by setting goals that are progressively higher than anything that you've accomplished. And all leaders in every study that I've looked at in the last few years make a habit, a conscious habit of not getting stuck in a comfort zone. They're always aware that natural tendency is to slide, to take it easy, so they're always setting goals that are just a little bit higher than they've ever accomplished before. They're always striving, always reaching out beyond anything they've done before. And that's what keeps them growing, that keeps them alive, it keeps them alert, it keeps them bright, and it keeps them successful. Now, we know, by the way, that achieving goals is automatic. You have this cybernetic mechanism that once you've programmed a goal into your mind, you go off toward it automatically. The problem is not in achieving goals. As human beings, you are a goal-achieving organism. The only time you're happy is when you have a goal. The only time that you are fully alive is when you're working towards something that's really important to you. You need that sense of meaning and purpose, that sense of direction, that sense of significance in your life. The question is not why is it that people don't achieve goals, because achieving goals is automatic. The question is why is it that people don't set goals? Now, I've heard for years before I began working in this subject, you're supposed to set goals, you're supposed to set goals. And yet I talk to people who've read the books and taken the course. I say, do you have written goals? They don't have any written goals. So I began to look into the psychology of goal setting, and I found that there are 4 major reasons why people don't set goals. Even though they know they should, they know they're important, they've been told over and over again, 4 major reasons. And until you understand these 4 reasons and how they work on you unconsciously, we can't go on to the next step. So let's talk about them. Why don't people set goals? Number 1 reason why people don't set goals is they don't realize the importance of goals. They don't realize the importance of goals. Now, what does this mean? Well, it means that you and I are the products of our upbringing. You and I are the products of our parental influences, our brothers, our sisters, our friends, our family, and so on. If you grew up in a home where your parents did not emphasize goals, did not talk about goals, did not encourage you to set goals at an early age, do you know what happens? Is that you can grow up and you can become an adult and you can not even be aware that there's such a thing as goals out there. In the studies on who gets ahead in America, they found an interesting thing. They found that the conversation around the family dinner table is a major determinant of the character of the children who grow and come out of that home. That if the conversation around the dinner table is achievement-oriented, success-oriented, goal-oriented, then young people will grow up believing and working toward goals as naturally as they eat with a knife and fork or wash their hands after dinner. So, people don't realize the importance of goal setting. Please understand that goal setting is critical. It is the vital skill of success. And the kindest thing that a person could ever do for their children is to help them set worthwhile and realistic goals from an early age and then give them all the encouragement possible to accomplish those goals. Second reason why people don't set goals, see if this applies to you, is they don't know how. Surprisingly enough, and when I started studying this subject, I found that everybody said to set goals. Very important to set goals. Got to set goals, got to have goals, got to put a timeline on goals. But the fact is that there were no really good goal-setting methodologies. And in this course, I'm going to teach you a goal-setting methodology that is absolute dynamite, considered one of the best goal-setting methodologies that anybody's ever seen. But if you don't know how to set goals, I could tell you how to set goals, tell you to set goals all day, and it wouldn't do you any good. You can go through 12 to 15 years of school in our society and never get 1 hour on goal setting. Imagine 12 to 15 years. I have taken a postgraduate degree in business from a major university, and never once did they spend 1 hour talking about how to set and achieve goals. Never once did they discuss the master skill of success. Well, after this course, you're going to know how to set goals. So that won't be a problem. Now, the third reason why people don't set goals, and this is in order of increasing importance, is fear of rejection. The fear of rejection, as we talked about before. One of the most profound and powerful fears in our life is the fear of being criticized or ridiculed by other people. And every one of us, as children, when we were young, we said, I want to do this, I want to be a fireman, I want to go here, I want to go there. And we had somebody saying, that's stupid, or you can't accomplish that, or don't be silly, or you're too small, and so on. And what we learned at a very early age is that if we talked about a goal or something that we wanted that was bigger than we were, the most important people in our lives would ridicule us and would criticize us and make us feel bad and small. So unconsciously we made a decision, if you want to get along, you've got to go along, so we don't talk about our goals. That way nobody criticizes us. Now, as adults, we fall into the trap, an unconscious habit, we fall into the trap of not setting goals at all, and not talking about goals and not thinking about goals, then nobody can criticize you. And I will tell you this, that 80-90% of the people around you, if you decide you're going to do anything from finding a new parking spot to finding a new job or a new marriage, they will tell you that it can't be done. They'll tell you all the reasons, and they'll line them up, and they'll try to discourage you from doing anything different than you're doing. So here's the key. Keep your goals confidential. Keep goals confidential. Don't discuss your goals with anybody. Except that the great majority of people are threatened by anybody who has a goal. They're worried. It makes them feel inferior and inadequate because they don't have goals of their own. So only discuss your goals with people who also have goals of their own. Discuss them with the people close to you whose help you need to accomplish them. But just don't discuss your goals with people at random, and don't give them a chance to shoot the goals down. Now, the fourth reason why people don't set goals. This is the top of the list. This is the worst of all. It's our old friend, our old enemy, if you like, fear of failure. The fear of failure is the number one reason why people fail in adult life. The fear of failure, the fear that I can't. I might lose my money. I might lose my time. I might lose my investment. I can't. It causes us to become tense and stressed. It causes our heart to pound and our stomach to churn. This fear of failure is the number one reason why people underachieve and fail in life. It's because the fear of failure holds them back from ever trying. And the reason why people fear failure is they don't understand failure. They don't understand this critical point. If you can understand this point, it can turn your whole attitude around. It's simply this, is that it's impossible to succeed without failing. That failure is an indispensable part of success. failure is essential to success. That if you avoid failing, you cannot succeed. That every single great success in human history has been a failure up until the moment of their success. That the key to success is to fail and fail in a forward direction, is to continue to learn from everything that goes wrong. To every setback, every obstacle, every disappointment, step back and say, what can I learn from this situation? Use the law of substitution and derive a valuable lesson from every single failure. Remember we talked about the becoming an inverse paranoid, confident expectations. Every time something goes wrong, look into it and say, now I wonder why this is happening to help me. And you'll find that in every single setback or disadvantage, as Napoleon Hill said in his book, there's a valuable lesson, an opportunity, or a benefit that you can find if you look for it. That successful people, leaders, are people who never use the word failure. They never think of the word failure. Thomas J. Watson, the founder of IBM, was once asked by a young man, he said, Mr. Watson, what can I do to be more successful? And Watson said without hesitating, he said, double your failure rate. Double your failure rate. Why? It's because, let me put this down. It's because if you look at the life stories of successful men and women, if you look at the life story of a person like Thomas Edison, one of the greatest failures in history. Thomas Edison, in the course of his lifetime, patented 1,052 devices at the U.S. Patent Office. Over 1,000 of those devices were actually turned into commercial products that made enormous amounts of money. Edison was also the greatest failure in the history of invention. He failed 17,000 times to come up with a plant that from which natural latex could be drawn. He failed thousands of times in other experiments. He failed over 11,000 times in his attempt to come up with a filament for the electric light bulb. After he had failed 5,000 times, and it was in the newspaper, it was called Edison's Folly, this attempt to somehow light the world with an incandescent light bulb. Everybody knew the world, people were supposed to light their way through the world with a kerosene lantern. A reporter came to him, a young reporter, said, Mr. Edison, why do you persist in spending all of this time and money after you failed 5,000 times? And Edison said, young man, he said, you don't understand how the world works. He said, I haven't failed at all. He said, I've just successfully discovered 5,000 ways that will not work. He said, that puts me just 5,000 ways closer to the way that will work. It was over 11,000 experiments before he found the tungsten or the carbon impregnated filament that lit the first electric light bulb and changed the world. Colonel Sanders went to over 1,000 restaurants. A 66-year-old man went to over 1,000 restaurants to try to sell his recipe initially before he found one restaurant that would pay him a 5-cent a chicken royalty. But he kept on. Would you keep on after 100, 200, 500, 1,000 people had told you no? Sanders did, and became one of the richest and most well-known and most respected men in America. So you have to understand that success and failure go hand in hand. That wherever there is a possibility for success, there's also the possibility for failure. There is nothing wrong with failing as long as you learn from every lesson. And remember, if you have a certain number of failures that you have to go through in order to learn the lessons and gain the experience in order to achieve your great success, the sooner you do it, the faster you get on with it, the more mistakes you make, the more times you fall on your face and pick yourself up and learn from it, the faster you're going to achieve what you're capable of achieving. All right. This brings us to the second part of goal setting. And these are what I call the 5 keys. Now, these 5 keys are 5 key parts of the process of goal setting for you to keep in mind on a regular basis. The first key part, number 1, is this, is that the scariest thing in human life today is change. We know, however, that change is inevitable, that change is a part of progress, that there's no progress without change, that your life cannot even improve with change. We know that change is scary. And there's a natural tendency, what we call homeostasis, there's a natural tendency for people to resist change, to push it back, to avoid it, to dig in their heels, to get into that comfort zone. And as I've said before, the comfort zone is the greatest single enemy of human potential. Change is scary unless it is goal-directed. Unless it is goal-directed. And this is the key, is that we can overcome this persistent unconscious fear of change by one simple technique, is by taking control of it. Remember, we said that the law of control is the critical law of human harmony, that you only feel positive about yourself to the degree to which you feel you are in control of your own life. Well, goals allow us to control the direction of change. We know that life never goes on in a straight line for any period of time. Life is either getting better and improving, or life is getting worse and deteriorating. That just happens to be the fact. However, when we set goals, we can control the direction of change. And controlling the direction of change is the key to our success. So that everything that happens in our life is goal-directed. It is towards something that we want. It is toward improvement. It is in the direction of our highest ideals rather than random. See, nobody fears change if it's in the direction of something that they want. The only change that we fear is change that leaves us worse off than we were before. Now, this brings us to our second key concept in goal setting. It's what we call the area of excellence. Now, the area of excellence concept is very simple. What it says is that everybody has talents that rotate around the average. These are average talents. So we are better at cooking, worse at math, better at communicating, worse at selling, better at speaking, worse at history, and so on. We all have talents, but it also says that every one of us has talents somewhere that are in the exceptional range. That every single human being has an area of excellence in which they are extremely capable if they can find it. That every single person, we'll talk about this earlier, has genius in some area. And one of the great jobs of adult life is to find your area of excellence and to throw your whole heart and soul into that area of excellence and into becoming very good in the area where you have unique gifts and abilities. For instance, 3 keys to your area of excellence. 3 critical keys. Number 1 is attention. Attention, the things that hold your attention are a very, very good indicator of where your area of excellence might be. What do you like to read about? What do you like to talk about? What do you like to think about? What do you like to study? What do you like to learn more about? Also, interest. What are you interested in? What has held you or been a fascinating subject for you throughout your life? Sometimes we are programmed internally to be interested and drawn toward things that are the very best for us. And finally, absorption. What could you become totally absorbed in? What absorbs your attention completely? When you're working at it, when you're thinking about it, when you're reading about it, it absorbs your attention completely. Attention, interest, and absorption are the 3 keys to finding your area of excellence. And one of the most important responsibilities of adult life is to find your area of excellence. Because until you do that and commit yourself to it, you will never achieve your full potential. And everybody has an area of excellence. Now, the next key, number 3, area of excellence is number 2. Next key is what we call the acres of diamonds. And the acres of diamonds theory comes from a story about an old farmer who went off seeking diamonds in Africa, sold his farm, wrapped up everything, went off seeking diamonds, ran out of money, and finally died, poor, impoverished, and alone. And meanwhile, back on his farm, the new owner went out and discovered some of the biggest diamonds in history. The Acres of Diamonds philosophy says that under your own feet, right now, in almost all cases, is everything that you're looking for. Right now, contained within your own talents, your own abilities, your own experience, your own wisdom, your own knowledge, your industry, your family, your contacts, that somewhere right now, under your own feet, is the opportunity that you're looking for. You don't have to go across the world. You don't have to move to another city. You don't have to change. All you have to do is mine your own acres of diamonds. But the interesting thing is that diamonds don't look like diamonds in their rough form. Diamonds or opportunities always come disguised as hard work. The reason why people are always looking somewhere else is because they don't recognize that your great opportunities always come disguised as hard work, and they take a tremendous amount of work and effort to develop and to realize. So look under your own feet for your acres of diamonds. Look into your own unique talents for your area of excellence. Absolutely critical to goal setting. Now, the 4th is the importance of balance. In life, in order to be truly successful, you must have balanced goals. You can't have just goals that are all money. You can't have goals that are all in any one direction. You need a balance of goals, and here are the 3 key areas. Number 1 is you need personal and family goals. Now, your personal and family goals are the goals that, more than anything else, determine the quality of your emotional life, determine how good you feel about yourself and life. And your personal and family goals, you need about 3 to 5. These are the reasons why. These are the why of your life. This is why you're alive in the first place, which is to achieve a life that is significant and important and pleasurable to you. And you must never sacrifice these for anything else. The second set of goals are business and career goals. Now, your business and career goals are the way that you earn the wherewithal. They're the way that you fulfill your potential as a productive member of society. They're the way you make a contribution. These are the what goals. But remember, these are not as important as the why. The natural tendency for us, if we're not careful, is we get so caught up in the what, the business and career goals, that we forget the personal and family, which are the reasons why we started in the first place. And you need 3 to 5 goals in the business and career area. And number 3 is the self-improvement goals. Now, self-improvement goals means that you look upon yourself as a do-it-to-yourself project. It means that you look into yourself as a person who has infinite capacity, but it has to be developed. And you need 3 to 5 self-improvement goals, too. Now, your self-improvement goals are what we call the means. Self-improvement are the means to get the what, which is what you need in order to accomplish your why. One more point, and that's this. And it's point number 5, and that is the need for a major definite purpose. A major definite purpose is the number 1 goal in life. And every single study that we have looked at, every single study that I've looked at in peak performance, high achievement, and so on, comes back to this very simple equation, this very simple factor, is that your life only begins to become great when you fix upon a major definite purpose. One goal, one mission, one goal that is bigger than any other single goal in your life. Now, it doesn't mean you can't have several goals. You can have 10 to 15 goals going. You can have 200 to 300 if you want. But you have to have one. If somebody were to wake you up in the middle of the night and give you a shake and say, what is your major definite purpose? You should be able to open your eyes and be able to tell them just like that. Your major definite purpose must be measurable. In other words, you can't have a major definite purpose to be happy. I had one woman come up to me and she said her major definite purpose was world peace. And I said, well, your major definite purpose, in order for it to have any meaning for you, in order for it to give purpose and direction to your life, has to be under your own control. It has to be measurable. It has to be specific. It has to be tangible. It has to be something that you can do or have or be. It has to be something that when you've accomplished it, you can look at it and say, here it is, it's achieved. It can't be something nebulous, because setting a big, broad, unbounded goal is a way that we trick ourselves into setting no goals at all. Now, with regard to your major definite purpose and your other goals, 2 points. You can have tangible and intangible goals. In other words, you can have qualitative goals that have to do with the quality of your life, and you can have quantitative goals or tangible goals that have to do with your income, weight loss, bigger car, bigger house, and so on. And you need a balance of those. And finally, you need short-term and long-term goals. Now, your short-term goals, ideally, are about 90 days for maximum motivation. Your long-term goals should be about 2 to 3 years for maximum motivation. And your major definite purpose or your major goals should be 2 to 3 year goals, maybe shorter, maybe longer, broken down into 90-day periods. That having been said, I'm going to give you a brief goal-setting exercise. I'm going to ask you 7 quick questions. I'm going to give you between 30 and 60 seconds to answer these questions. And what I want you to do is write as quickly as you possibly can the very first things that come to your mind. Now, the first question is this. Are you ready? Get out a pencil, clean sheet of paper, goal-setting exercise. Here it is. Question number 1 is, what are your 5 basic values in life? What 5 things do you value most in life? Number 1 question. You have 60 seconds to answer this question. It's counting right now. What things do you value most in life? Your home, your car, your family, your income, your job, your career, your spiritual development, your health, your wealth, your stereo set, your new hubcaps, your intelligence, your intellectual growth. What 5 things do you value most in life? 30 seconds. Write the first 5 things that come to mind. And once you've written the answer to this question, your 5 basic values, organize them in order of priority. What is the first one? What would be number 1 if you had to throw away the other 4? What would be number 2 if you had to throw away the other 3? What would be number 3? And so on. Organize them in order of priority, number 1 through number 5. All right, 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1. Question number 2 is write your 3 most important goals in life right now. You have 30 seconds. What's your 3 most important goals in life right now? Counting. 25 seconds left. Write the first 3 goals that pop into your mind. If you can't think of anything else, write money, money, money. But write the first 3 goals that pop into mind, quickly. Okay, 10 seconds. This is an easy question. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Question number 3. You have 1 minute. What would you do, how would you spend your time if you found today that you only had 6 months to live? How would you spend the last 6 months of your life if you only had 6 months to live? Write everything that you do in the last 6 months. Time is counting now. Write it as though everything you put on this list you can do in that last 6 months, but if you don't write it down, you can't do it. How would you spend your time? Who would you spend your time with? Where would you go? What would you do? What would you want to finish up? What would you want to start? Who would you want to see? What phone calls would you make? What bills would you run up on your charge cards? Okay. In other words, what would you do if you had 6 months to live? All right, 10 seconds. Write everything you can think of. Remember, if it's written down on this sheet in front of you, you can do it. If you forget to write it, you won't be able to do it. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Question number 4. What would you do, how would you change your life if you won $1 million in the lottery tomorrow? If you became an instant millionaire, what would you do differently from what you're doing today? If you became an instant millionaire, what would you do differently? You've got 1 minute to write. Everything that you write, you'll be able to do with that $1 million. If you don't write it down, you won't be able to spend it. The $1 million won't be given to you. Interestingly enough, when most people are asked this question, the average amount that they can spend is about $200,000. They can't get their mind around $1 million. But what would you do differently? Good question. Would you continue working at the job you're working at if you won $1 million? If the answer is no, it means you're in the wrong job for you and you are wasting your life. Would you stay in the relationship that you're in? Would you continue spending your time the way you spend it? What would you do if you won $1 million? All right, 5 seconds left. Write down everything you can think of. I had a farmer in one of my courses once. He said he'd just keep on farming until it was all gone. Anyway, number 5. You have to be a farmer to appreciate that. Number 5 is, what have you always wanted to do but been afraid to attempt? You've got 30 seconds. What have you always wanted to do in life but been afraid to attempt? 30 seconds. Right? The first thing that pops into mind. Run for public office, give a professional talk, start a new relationship, start your own business. Half the population would like to start their own business. Did you know that? Over half the population. But they don't do it because they're afraid of failure or rejection or something else. 10 seconds left. What have you always wanted to do but been afraid to attempt? This is a very revealing question. Write whatever comes down on the page. All right. Question number 6. What sort of activities in life give you your greatest feeling of importance? What sort of activities give you the greatest feeling of pleasure, self-esteem, happiness, joy, and fulfillment? What do you really like to do? Look back over your life and ask yourself, when have you been the happiest? 30 seconds left. 30 seconds to go in this question. When have you been the happiest in life? When have you been the most fulfilled? When have you felt the very best about yourself? When have you had the greatest amount of peace and personal satisfaction? What sort of circumstances? What were you doing at the time? Who were you doing it with? Where were you going? What were your goals? What were the circumstances? And so on. Very, very important question. All right, 5 more seconds. And then here is the key question in determining your major definite purpose is this. Imagine that I could give you a pill that was a magic pill, and if you took this magic pill, you could accomplish any one thing in the whole world. And the question is simply this. What one great thing would you dare to dream if you knew you could not fail? What one great thing would you dare to dream if you knew you could not fail? All right, 45 seconds. What one great thing, what one goal would you dare to dream if you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that you could not fail? You're absolutely guaranteed of success. What would it be? Five seconds. Now, in almost every case, by the way, the answers to these questions will spring to your lips. Some people, however, have been able to go through this whole exercise and not been able to answer a single question. And there's nothing wrong with that. The whole purpose of this exercise is to help you begin crystallizing your goals and especially your major definite purpose. Let's look at these goals. Let's look at these questions, and I suggest that you take this exercise every single month until you can pop out the answers to every one of these questions and they begin to improve and crystallize. 5 basic values in life. We said that self-esteem is the key to peak performance. Well, self-esteem only comes when your goals and your values fit like a hand in a glove. That the most successful men and women in our society are people who know what they believe, who know what their values are, and they organize their time so that it's consistent with their values. And you'll find that most stress, most unhappiness, most irritability, most health problems, most burnout comes from living a life that is inconsistent with your basic values. So always be asking yourself, what are my values? What do I believe in? And make sure that your outer life is consistent with your inner life. It's the key to peak performance, the key to self-esteem, the key to happiness. Number 2, what are your 3 most important goals in life? Whenever you're given only 30 seconds to answer that question, the 3 goals that the subconscious pops to your mind will almost invariably be the 3 most important concerns or goals that you have right now. This is a very revealing question, and you can give it to yourself and give it to other people. What would you do if you had 6 months to live? If you only have 6 months to live, it refers you back to your basic values. It tells you what you really value in life. And an important question is this, is that how much of your current life is consistent with what you would do if you only had 6 months to live? Would you spend more time with your family? If you would, are you spending more time with your family now? Remember, you never know when you only have 6 months to live. What would you do if you became an instant millionaire? Perfect question. That simply asks you, what would you do if you had all the time and money in the world? What would you do if you had no fear of failure and no fear of rejection? What would you do if you were free to choose? If you had complete freedom to choose, the fact is that anything that you could write down as an answer to question number 4, you can accomplish. You don't need $1 million. All you need to do is set it as a goal and make a plan and start working toward it. You may not get it as fast as if you were a millionaire, but you'll get it nonetheless. Asking the question simply frees your mind. Question number 5, what are you afraid to attempt? That may tell you what the self-limiting belief or block is that's holding you back from achieving your full potential. Question number 6, what gives you your greatest feeling of importance? This is simply asks you what gives you a feeling of self-esteem, and this will lead you unerringly to your area of excellence, because you will always and only become excellence doing what gives you a tremendous feeling of importance. And question number 7, what one great thing would you dare to dream if you knew you could not fail? Let me just say this as we close, that whatever you wrote as an answer to that question, whatever you wrote as an answer to the question, what one great thing would you dare to dream if you knew you could not fail, you can be, have, or do. The only question is, how badly do you want it, and are you willing to pay the price? Because if you are, and you're willing to pay the price and work toward it, you can accomplish everything on that list, and sometimes far faster than you can possibly imagine. The question is, how badly do you want it?
Session 16, 12 Steps to Goal Achieving.
One of the wisest men I ever met gave me a success secret some years ago that made a real impression on me, and it was simply this. He said one of the most important things he found in 50 years of research was the need to use proven success methods. He said, your life is too short to try to reinvent the wheel or to learn it all by yourself. So the smartest thing that you can do is what is called creative imitation, which is to go out and find what other people have done that works and do what they do until you get it to the point where you really know it well and then improve upon it. What I want to tell you about in this session is a proven success method. It's a 12-step method for goal setting and goal achieving, which I've taught to over 100,000 people. I've had many men and women come back to me and say they've accomplished more in a month with this program than they have in a year without it. I've had people who've accomplished more than 2 or 3 years than they'd accomplished in 10 or 20 years using this very simple methodology. It is a proven success method. I urge you to try it. I urge you to use it, incorporate it into your life, use it as an automatic process, and whenever you start thinking about your direction, your meaning, your purpose, where you want to go, sit down and work it through these 12 steps until it becomes automatic. Remember, the ability to set goals and to make plans for their accomplishment is the master skill of success, which can only be learned through practice and repetition over and over and over again. Now let's go to the board and let's talk about these 12 steps. Step number 1, starting point of all success. And by the way, let me step back just for 1 second. We talked a little bit earlier about the importance of the major definite purpose. Your major definite purpose. The major goal, the number 1 goal in your life. And many people come to me and write to me and phone me and they say, how do I pick my major definite purpose? And the only solution I can give you is go through the 7-step goal-setting exercise, which we did in the previous session. And also, if you can't come up with it then, make it your major definite purpose to find your major definite purpose. Dwell upon your major definite purpose. Ask yourself, what could it be? What should it be? What will it be? What ought it to be? And keep running this over and over in your mind. Seek information, look, discover, and you will find that with the inexorability of a law of nature, that your major definite purpose will come to you, and it'll be so clear, so obvious, so right, and it will happen in exactly the right time. We'll discuss that when we talk about the superconscious mind a little bit later. But for now, if you don't have a major definite purpose, make finding your major definite purpose your major definite purpose. And when you do find it, run it through this exercise the same way you would run something through a computer to get an answer out the bottom. Step number 1 in goal setting is desire. And the more intense the desire, the more burning the desire, the more you want something, the more likely it is that you will accomplish it. As a matter of fact, it's been said over and over again that burning desire is the starting point of all great accomplishment. Why is that so important? Well, burning desire is the desire that drives you ahead over all the difficulties, disappointments, temporary failures, obstacles, because if your goal is worthy of you, you're going to fall on your face over and over and over again. You're going to make mistakes. It's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you time. It's going to cost you anxiety. As a matter of fact, if you're not laying in bed at night staring at the ceiling with your heart pounding at least 3 nights a week, you're probably not trying hard enough. So, burning desire is the starting point of all great goal attainment. Now, burning desire is always personal. It's always personal. Which means that when it comes to setting goals, whatever the goal is, it has to be your goal. You cannot want a goal for someone else, and someone else cannot want a goal for you. When we talk about desire, make it personal. Somebody says, I want to get a raise at my job. That's my goal. That's setting a desire for your boss. I had a young man say to me, I want to marry this particular girl. That's setting a goal for the girl. Only you can set goals for yourself, but be very certain that the goals that you do set are yours. That the goals that you do set are ones that turn you on, not goals that somebody else wants for you, or goals that you think you should do, or you ought to do, or they'd be good for you to do. Think through yourself and be perfectly honest. Be perfectly honest. Ask yourself, what is it that you want? Now, interestingly enough, it takes tremendous courage to be perfectly honest and perfectly selfish in goal setting. But if you are not perfectly honest at this stage and asking yourself what you really want, what is it deep in your heart you really want to be, have, or do, if you're not honest at this stage, the whole rest of the process falls apart. If you are honest at this stage, it's like a rocket launch. You can go there, from there you can go anywhere. Step number 2 is belief. Remember we said before that your external world will always be a representation of your internal world, and that your internal world is made up of your beliefs, your convictions, if you like. Another word is faith. It's what you believe or what you have faith in deep down inside. There's a great talk by Reverend Ike where he talks about fascination, and he says that what you are fascinated by becomes your reality because you are drawn toward it and it is drawn toward you. What you believe in, what you have faith in, what interests you, what draws you, what fascinates you is critical. And another word is conviction. You have to believe that it is possible for you to accomplish the goal. You have to believe that it is possible for you to achieve it. For that reason, it's very important that you make your goal believable. Many people, when they learn these new ideas about goal setting, they make a mistake. They think, wow, I'm going to go out and I'm going to make $1 million in a year. And the fact of the matter is that $1 million, if you're making whatever you're making now, to jump to $1 million in most cases is so big that your conscious mind rejects it as being illogical, not acceptable, impossible. And if your conscious mind rejects it, it never gets to the subconscious mind. Remember, your subconscious mind can only accept as a command something that you totally believe in the conscious mind. So make it believable and make it achievable. It's better to set a smaller goal at first and accomplish that, and then a larger goal and accomplish that, and then a larger goal and accomplish that. For instance, 2 examples. If you want to lose weight, don't say I'm going to lose 20 pounds or 30 pounds. Lose 5 pounds. You see, 5 pounds you can believe. You can get your mind around 5 pounds. If you want to increase your income by 50%. Question mark plus. Increase your income by 50%. If you're earning $10,000 a year, say, my goal is to earn $15,000 a year. I earn $15,000 per year. You can get your mind around 50%. That's less than 4% a month compounded. You can get your mind around 5 pounds. And as you begin to move your income up or begin to move your weight down, then adjust the goal and make it 5 more pounds. Make it 50% more and so on. But keep your goals believable. According to the work at Harvard University, your goals should have a 50-50 probability of success. 50-50 probability. And each goal should be aimed at what is called your next step, your next logical step on the road to accomplishment. So if you want to run a marathon and you've never run before, the first thing is to run a mile. And run a mile without pain. And then run 2 miles and then run 3 miles. But to go from 0 to running a marathon has been found to be a self-defeating exercise. It'll actually hurt you more than it will motivate you. Remember, in order for a goal to unlock the motivational capacity that lies within you, you must be able to believe that it's possible of accomplishment. So better to set it lower to start with and then raise the standard than set it so high that it defeats you right at the beginning. Number 3 is write it down. Now this is very important because most people don't write their goals down. Only 3% of the population have written goals. Only 5% have goals at all. Only 3% have written goals, and I venture to say that probably you don't have any written goals either. And if you do have written goals, you probably don't have them written out in any detail. Write the goal down. Remember the reasons why people don't set goals. One of the reasons why they don't write the goals down is that when you write a goal down, you make it concrete. Suddenly, your subconscious wakes up and says, ha, you mean business. When you don't write it down, you are avoiding making a commitment. Unconsciously, the reason why people don't write their goals down is because of the fear of failure. The reason they don't write their goals down is they don't want to make a commitment to it. You see, if you never write it down, then nobody can ever tell you didn't accomplish it. If you don't write it down, well, then you're not really locked into anything. You keep your options open, if you like, and you go on to fail and underachieve in life. All the successful people have written goals. And if you want to be successful, you really have no choice. So write the goals down, make it concrete, make a commitment. A 100% commitment to accomplishing your goal will do more to drive you towards your goal than you can possibly imagine. Now when you write it down, make it clear. Don't make it fuzzy. Don't say I want to be happy or I want to be rich. Make it clear. Make it specific. If you want to earn a certain amount of money, make it a specific amount of money. Make it after-tax dollars. If you want to start a business, make it a profitable business. If you want to get into a relationship, make it a happy relationship. But make it clear, specific, and use vivid words or vivid language. Because the more vivid the language is, the more rapidly the subconscious accepts it. Emotional words like warm, exciting, powerful, loving, happy, dynamic. These are the kind of words that drive the goal into the subconscious mind. It's absolutely essential that it be a written goal. This is, by the way, where the winners part from the losers, because the losers always have a reason not to write out their goals. Number 4 is ask yourself this critical question. Why do you want it? Why do you want it? This is one of the most important of all questions, because it will answer 3 things. First of all, it will make sure that it's your goal and not somebody else's. Second of all, it will intensify your desire, because the more reasons that you have, these are what is called your reasons why. Your reasons why, in most cases, are more important than the goal itself. The goals can change. The reasons why stay the same. Do you want it because it will make you happier, healthier, more popular? Do you want it because it will fulfill your deepest needs? It will give you a sense of meaning and purpose in life? Why do you want it? You see, if the more reasons you have to want something, and if you make a list of them, list the reasons. The more reasons you have, the more desire you'll have, because reasons are the fuel in the furnace of achievement. Reasons are the fuel in the furnace of achievement. The more reasons you have for accomplishing something, the more likely it is you'll accomplish it. For instance, if you say, well, I'd like to earn $50,000 a year, or $30,000 or $100,000, doesn't matter. Person says, why? And if you just say, well, just so that I can earn that kind of money, it has almost no motivating power. But if you say, so I could get a car, so I could take care of my family, so I could take my wife or my husband on a trip, so I could buy things for my children, so I could change my wardrobe, get a different house, buy a different car. The more things that you list under there, the more likely it is that you're going to accomplish it. Because when you list your reasons, you intensify your belief, your faith, and your conviction that it's possible. Number 5 step in goal setting is to analyze your position. Analyze your starting point. Now this is important, because in analyzing your starting point, you know what your next step is. When we say analyzing our starting point, what do we mean? Well, let me give you a couple of examples. In analyzing your starting point, you have to ask yourself, what are your strengths? What are your basic strengths and what are your basic weaknesses? What is it that you need to learn? What is it that you need to improve? You see, before you accomplish any big goals, major efforts are necessary. Before you bring about any major change in your life, you're going to have to bring about major changes in you. Before you accomplish anything extraordinary, you're going to have to do a lot of ordinary things. So you have to ask this question. If you want to lose weight, what's the first thing you do? Is you weigh yourself. If you want to increase your income, the first thing you do is you figure out how much did you make last year? How much are you making right now? And then if you want to increase your income and you're in the business of sales, then you say, how many calls am I making on a daily basis? How many closes am I making? What is my average sales volume? What is my average sale? How many of those do I have to have? How much do I have to increase it, and so on? If you want to build a bigger business, you analyze your starting point and you say, where am I in the marketplace? How am I fixed with regard to capital resources? How am I fixed with regard to manpower? How am I fixed with regard to market opportunities and credit? And you sit down and you do a very, very clear analysis, exactly the way a military commander would do a strategic analysis of his or her position before launching a major battle campaign. One of the big mistakes that people make in goal setting is they launch without taking the time to think through what their launching pad is. And when they find themselves driven back, if you like, or falling on their face, they don't have a foundation underneath them. So those are the 6 starting points. Determine what it is that you desire. The 5 starting points. Determine what it is that you desire. Believe that you can accomplish it. Write it down. Determine the reasons why. Analyze your starting point. And number 6, set a deadline. Set a deadline. You see, a goal without a deadline is not really a goal at all. A goal without a deadline is an exercise in self-delusion. So be very alert to that. Set a deadline on your total goal, and then set mini deadlines. Not many, but mini. So, if you have a 1-year goal, then set 12 one-month goals. Write 2 6-month goals, 4 3-month goals, 12 one-month goals, and then 4 one-week goals. Set mini deadlines and establish a reward schedule. This is one of the most important findings in psychology, is establish a reward schedule. Is that if you will give yourself a small reward And we find that many, many of the most successful men and women that we've studied have little games with themselves. If it's nothing more than every 3 phone calls they give themselves a jelly bean. Or every 2 appointments that they get, they give themselves a cup of coffee or a walk outside. It really doesn't matter what it is, but establish a reward schedule so that every time you achieve a mini deadline or a mini goal on the path to your bigger goal, you give yourself a reward. And you'll find that people who have not been able to motivate themselves for years, if they have little rewards, one after the other, you see, it's not enough to have a big reward at the end of the road. As human beings, we're almost like kids. We have to have a whole lot of little rewards on the way, a whole lot of little jelly beans on the way to the birthday cake or the birthday party. So set yourself a reward schedule. It may be buying a new article of clothing. It may be taking a trip. It may be going out to dinner. It may be anything that you like. You can have little rewards for small achievements, medium-sized rewards for medium-sized achievements, big rewards for big achievements. And make sure that that why is there, because it intensifies the desire, it keeps up your excitement and enthusiasm, and it unconsciously reinforces you and drives you forward into the next action. Step number 7. This is where we come down into the planning step. Step number 7 is this, is identify the obstacles you will have to overcome. Identify the obstacles. One of the things that we know is that obstacles equal success. Success means obstacles. That there is no success without obstacles. As a matter of fact, obstacles come to instruct, not to obstruct. Instruct versus obstruct. Remember this, every obstacle or difficulty that you meet on the way to your goal has come to instruct you in some way. So identify the obstacles you're going to have to overcome on the way to your goal. One of the things that holds people back from great accomplishment is that they see that there's an enormous number of obstacles that they have to overcome. It's like the settlers coming across the prairies 100 years ago saw those enormous, enormous Rocky Mountains and said, how are they ever going to get through that massive mountain range of mountains? Until some of the trappers and some of the scouts found that there were valleys that they could find that would lead them through the mountains. And all they needed was one valley through one set of mountains in order to be on the other side. So identify the obstacles and then list the obstacles. Ask yourself, what are all the things that are holding you back from accomplishing the goal right now? Why aren't you at the goal right now? You see, if there aren't any obstacles, then it's not a goal at all. It's just an activity. So what's standing between you and the obstacles? Also, be grateful for obstacles, because it's obstacles that assure that there is success at the other end. Where there are no obstacles, where there are no difficulties, where there are no challenges to overcome, there's no possibility of success either. Then, set priorities on your obstacles. In other words, look at them and say, of all the things that are standing between me and my goal, which one is number 1? Which is the number 1 obstacle? Imagine that this is you. Okay? Hope you can see that. That this is you, and here is your goal. Well, now, on the way to your goal, there's a road. And the road twists and turns. And on the way to the goal, there's a few obstacles, and there's pitfalls, and there's deadfalls, and so on. But somewhere on the way to this goal, there's also what we call the rock. Now, your rock is your major obstacle. The rock is the major thing that is stopping you from achieving your goal in the quality and the quantity that you desire. One of the most important things that you can do is ask yourself, what is your rock? What is the major boulder? What is the big obstruction that stops you from getting from here to there? Identifying the rock is one of the marks of the strategic thinker, and identifying the rock is one of the key things you do. Why? Because if you get rid of all of these other little obstacles on the way to the goal, the rock is still going to be there, and you're still not going to accomplish the goal. If you're not very careful, if you don't set priorities on your obstacles, you'll tend to work on a whole lot of irrelevant things and leave this rock undisturbed. However, the intelligent person focuses on the rock. The intelligent person says, this is the major obstacle, and they go to work on that rock. And they work day and night. They work as long as is necessary. There's a beautiful expression that says, swarm all over it. When you have a major problem, a major obstacle, a major difficulty that's in your way, swarm all over it. Concentrate all of your effort and attention. Work at it day and night, week in and week out, to get rid of it, because getting rid of that one obstacle will get you further towards your goal than getting rid of all of the other obstacles put together. So, in terms of your major definite purpose, what is your rock? What is your major obstacle? What's stopping you from going ahead? It could be internal. It could be lack of self-confidence. Very common. It could be self-doubt. It could be fear of loss. It could be a lot of things. That's quite normal. Or it could be external. It could be lack of money. It could be lack of information or knowledge. It could be lack of support from other people. It could be health. It could be a variety of things, but whatever it is, if you're determined to accomplish your goal, find out what it is and go to work to remove it. Now, number 8 is identify the knowledge you're going to require. Identify the knowledge that you're going to require. You see, we live in a knowledge-based society. There's no question about that. Is that no matter what it is that you want to accomplish, you're going to need more knowledge than you have now. The basic rule of life is that to a greater or lesser extent, you have gone as far as you can go in your life at this moment with what you now know. That's why I've emphasized so strongly the need for continuous self-development, reading, learning, taking in new information, because you need more knowledge. Now, there's 2 ways that you can get knowledge. You can go out and get original knowledge, which is to read, research, and find it yourself, or you can get knowledge from other people. But in any case, identify the knowledge you require. What do you need to know? For instance, if you want to be successful in business, one of the things that you have to know is marketing and sales. If you want to be successful in your own business, the critical skill in entrepreneurial success is salesmanship. The critical skill in executive success is the ability to sell your ideas to others and to persuade others. So maybe what you need, maybe the critical knowledge you need is persuasion skills. Or it could be the knowledge that you need has to do with the law, has to do with accounting, has to do with technology. 2 points is set priorities on your knowledge. You see, when you set priorities and you determine what's the number 1 piece of knowledge that you need, what's the number 1 piece of knowledge that more than anything else can hold you back from accomplishing your goal. And you'll find that if you concentrate on the number 1 piece of knowledge, it's like the rock in terms of obstacles. The number 1 piece of knowledge, once acquired, will catapult you towards your goal. Whereas if you accomplish a whole lot of other knowledge, it won't help you at all. Now, finally, and this is the last part with regard to knowledge, is ask your way to success. Ask your way to success. This is one of the pieces of advice by a great success counselor, is ask, ask, ask. What he said, and what every person who's ever studied this has said, is that this 3-letter word, ASK, is the key to your success in life. Ask the people who have the knowledge. If you need, hire the lawyers, hire the consultants, hire the specialists, hire the accountants. Ask your way to success. Find other people who are in your field. Find people who have the success. Find people who are experienced and go to them and ask. Why is it that people don't ask? Very simple reason. Most people are afraid of rejection. But the key to getting the things that you want in life is, first of all, you're going to have to learn it all yourself. Or second, is you can ask other people. And surprisingly enough, if you ask other people, they'll tell you. If you ask successful people what they did right, they'll tell you. If you ask successful people for their advice, they'll tell you. As a matter of fact, I was studying the life of a self-made millionaire, and he said, one of the keys to success in business is to become a negative thinker. And I thought that was astonishing, because I teach that you should be a positive thinker. And as I read on, what he said is, by that I mean is that once you come up with a great idea, take it to experts who can tear your idea apart, who can point out holes and weaknesses and flaws. Now, if you cannot plug the holes, weaknesses, and flaws, it probably means the idea isn't good enough. But if you are not willing to subject your idea to the scrutiny of critical people whose job is to find fatal flaws in something, then the idea is probably not good enough. So seeking out negative people, asking people their opinion, ask your way to success. Remember, in order to succeed, you need knowledge. You need more knowledge than you've got. You don't have very much time. You've got to get the knowledge the fastest, cheapest way possible. If necessary, buy the knowledge you require. Don't be cheap when it comes to knowledge. Number 9 step in goal setting is identify and ask yourself, who is your customer? Who is your customer? This means that you have to identify the people, the groups, and the organizations whose cooperation you require in order to be successful. Who are the people? Who are the groups? Who are the organizations? You see, in life we have a very simple equation, is that everybody makes their living by satisfying or serving somebody. That you and me have a customer. And that we move ahead in life to the degree to which we satisfy our customer. So we are all in the business of customer satisfaction. Now, if you work for a company, your customer may be your boss. If you're a salesperson, your customer may be your boss on the inside and the person who buys your product or service on the outside. If you're a nurse, your customer is the head nurse. Whoever you are, there is somebody in your environment. If you have a business person and you have to expand, one of your customers is your banker. Another one of your customers is your staff, your employees. Another customer may be your family. But there are always people that you have to work with in order to accomplish your goals. Now, why should people work with you in order to help you accomplish your goals? There's only one way, and that is what we call the law of compensation. The law of compensation, which comes from Ralph Waldo Emerson's wonderful essay called Compensation, simply says that for every force in life, there's an equal and opposite force. We call it the law of sowing and reaping. But it says this. It says that you are always compensated in equal measure for what you do. In fact, it always says that you are compensated in more than equal measure. So if you sow good, you reap more good than you sowed. If you sow bad, you reap more bad than you sowed. The law of compensation says that as long as you are doing good things for other people will do good things for you. So you ask this question, and this is everybody's favorite radio station. It's called WIIFM. What's in it for me? WIIFM. What's in it for me? If you want to be successful in life, the most successful people are what are called go-givers, as opposed to go-getters. Go-givers are people who are always asking, what can I do to please my customers? What can I do to give value? What can I do to earn their cooperation and their help to accomplish my goals? They're always trying to put themselves on the side of this law of compensation, knowing that if they put in, they'll get out. All the best companies in America or Canada, anywhere in the world, are built on the law of compensation, built on the law of sowing good seed and reaping good harvests. All unsuccessful laws, or all unsuccessful individuals and companies, are built on the premise of taking as much as you can get, putting in back, or as little as you can put in. Now, a second law, which ties in with this, is what it's called the law of service. The law of service says that you will always be rewarded in life in exact proportion to the value of your service to other people, to your customer, whoever your customer or customers are. The law of service says that your returns will always equal your service. That if you want to increase the value of your returns, you have to increase the value of your service. But it also says this wonderful thing, is that the great satisfactions in life, the great joys that you will enjoy in life will always come from serving other people. It'll always come from doing a good job, from contributing something of value to others. And the more work you do on yourself to increase the value of your contribution, the happier you will be and the bigger your rewards will be. It also triggers the third law, which is the law of return. The law of return says that whatever you put in terms of service, you will get back in terms of return. And it brings us to one more law, again from Napoleon Hill, called the law of overcompensation. The law of overcompensation, to me and to many people, is the key to success in life. And it simply says this. It says, always do more than you're paid for. Always put in more than you take out. Always go the extra mile. Always do more than you're paid for. You can never be paid more than you're getting now until you do more than you're being paid now. And you put yourself on the side of the angels when you put in more and more than you're being paid for. Number 10 is make a plan. Make a plan, and make the plan over and over. All successful men and women are successful planners. And how do you make a plan? Simple. A plan is a list of activities. In other words, you just identify from everything that we've talked about, what are the activities that you have to engage in to achieve your goal. And then you organize the list, just like a ladder. You organize the list in terms of priorities and in terms of time. What do you have to do first? What do you have to do second? What's more important? What's less important? And then you take action and get going on your plan and continually revise the plan. Number 11 is visualization. Visualization is worth all of the other 10. Visualization is create a clear mental picture of the goal that you desire. Create a clear mental picture and then imagine or image The result. Get a clear mental picture and see your goal as already realized. See it as a reality and play that picture over and over again on the screen of your mind. Play that picture on the screen of your mind until you can see it with perfect clarity. Design it, draw it out, do whatever is necessary in order to create that mental picture, and then think about that mental picture. Think about your goal as a reality over and over again. Repeat it until you impress it deeper and deeper and deeper into your subconscious. Number 12 is back your plan with determination and persistence. Back your plan with determination and persistence. In the final analysis, the key to your success is your ability to hang in longer than anybody else. In all the studies that we've looked at of winners, of peak performance, we find that the quality of persistence is to the character of a man or woman as carbon is to steel. That persistence is only necessary when the going gets rough. That persistence only comes to the fore when everything falls apart around you and you feel like quitting. That persistence has no value at all when things are going well. Persistence only has value when you are willing to press on in the face of obstacles, difficulties, disappointments, falling on your face, losing your money, and so on. In the studies of self-made millionaires, we find that the average self-made millionaire in America has been broke or nearly broke 3.2 times. But irrespective of anything that they faced, male or female, they kept on struggling. And that's one of the reasons why they became successful. We also know this, by the way, that in order for you to achieve great success, you have no choice but to be willing to face temporary setbacks, temporary defeats, temporary obstacles. Winston Churchill, in one of the great stories of human history, was asked, in speaking to a boys' school, if he could summarize the lessons of his life in a few words. And he stood up and he said, I could summarize the major lesson of my life in 7 words, he said. And he stood there leaning on his cane and he said, they are these words, young man. He said, never give up. Never, never give up. And I think that more than anything else, from every study I've read, that's critical. If you resolve in advance that once you have set off to achieve your goal, that you will never give up, that you will never quit, that nothing can stop you, that every single difficulty will just be a spur to drive you on, that you will become an inverse paranoid and you'll look into every problem and you look for the good in the problem, you look for the lesson that you can learn, you look for the way you can turn the situation to your advantage. If you keep on doing that, if you keep optimistic, if you keep this attitude of confident expectation going, you will be successful. And finally, with regard to persistence, the iron quality that determines all your success, let me just say this, is that your persistence is your measure of your belief in yourself. Your persistence is your measure of your belief in yourself. And every time you persist in the face of adversity, your belief in yourself increases until it reaches the point where you become unstoppable on the road and on the pathway to your goals.
Session 17, Time Management Strategies.
At the beginning of the seminar, we talked about mental laws and we talked about the law of control. We said that you feel positive about yourself to the degree to which you feel you are in control of your life, and you feel negative about yourself to the degree to which you feel you are not in control, or the degree to which you feel you are controlled by external events. Now, there's no place where this is more important as part of the discussion than in the subject of time management. Charles Hobbs, the time management specialist, has come up with a great definition of time management. He says, time management is the control of the sequence of events. That most of your stress in life comes from a feeling that you are out of control of the sequence of events. Now, all successful people practice good time management skills. All unsuccessful people do not. Period. That each one of us has 24 hours a day. You have 24 hours a day, and I have 24 hours a day. Yet the top 20% of every graduating class, the top 20% of every industry, the top 20% of every social grouping accomplish and achieve 80% of the rewards. Not because they have more talent, not because they have more skill, not because they have more ability or intelligence or education or opportunity or anything else. It's because they use their time better. We've talked throughout this course about keys to success. We said over and over again that one of the most important keys to success is self-discipline. Self-discipline. And we know that none of us have enough self-discipline. But self-discipline has a specific application. It means self-mastery. It means many things. It means keeping your mind on what you want and off of what you don't want. But it also means self-control. It means self-control in terms of time, in terms of controlling the sequence of events. If you cannot master your time, then the seeds of greatness are not in you. If you cannot master your time, then it's not likely that you'll ever accomplish what you are capable of accomplishing in life. In this session, I want to give you 7 keys to time management. Now, I do entire 1- and 2-day time management programs. I can speak for hours on time management without referring to a note. I have studied countless books. I've listened to all the tapes. I've been to the courses. I'm going to give you 7 keys. If you will follow these 7 keys until they become automatic, you can double your time efficiency in almost no time at all. So without further ado, let's go on. But remember, time management is essential. We all have the same time. The only question is, what do we do with the time? And in that and out of that comes the stuff of life. Starting point of time management, number 1, which I've been repeating over and over again, is clear, specific goals. Clear, specific goals. Do you know how many people waste their time because they do not have clear, specific goals? They don't know what they're doing. At least 80% of all time wastage or more is because people aren't sure of what they're supposed to be doing. They're not sure of what they want to do, and if they work for a company, they're not sure of what the company wants them to do. As a matter of fact, the first thing I do when I go into a company is I say, what you have to do is you have to clearly define the expectations of each person in each position. And you know, in most cases, they are not sure how to do that. Clear, specific goals. If you work for a company, if you work for a boss, the first thing that you should do is go to your boss and ask your boss exactly what he expects you to do. What are the most important things that you have been hired to accomplish? Clear, specific goals defined in terms of outputs, in terms of results. What results do you want? In fact, when you set your goals, you should always ask yourself, what outcomes do you desire? Rather than goals, ask yourself, what outcomes? Now, what do I mean by outcomes? Well, here's a perfect example. A person says, I want to be successful in my job. What does that mean? Well, what it means, the outcome that they desire, is they want interesting, challenging work that pays well. And sometimes we find ourselves working at a job where it's not interesting or challenging, and we can't understand why we can't get any satisfaction out of it. Or a person says, I want my relationship to work. However, what are they saying? What they're saying is, the outcome I desire is I want to be happy in my relationship. And it doesn't matter who you're happy with. If the outcome is clear that you want to be happy in a relationship, that's very different from insisting upon being happy in this relationship. Another thing, a person says, I want to be rich. Well, you say, what does rich mean? What would rich look like? What would your outcome be if you were rich? How much would it take to accomplish that outcome? And then you start looking, you say, well, if I had a certain amount of money, I'd be able to do this, I'd be able to do this, I'd be able to do this. And sometimes you find that it's possible to achieve that outcome without accomplishing that kind of financial acquisition. Sometimes you find you cannot achieve the outcome you desire in life from the work that you're in. So be alert to outcomes. Clear, specific goals written down. Step number 2 is clear, written plans. As we talked about before, clear, written plans. And organize your plans, if you like, in a list of activities so that you know all the things that you have to do. These 2 alone, taking the time to plan, they say every minute spent in planning will save you 5 to 15 minutes in execution. And action without planning is the cause of almost every failure. Action without planning is the cause of almost every failure. So clear written plans and clear list of activities to work on, as we talked about in previous sessions. Step number 3 is make a list. All successful time managers work from lists. All unsuccessful people don't bother to write lists. Make a list for every day. Make a list for every week. Make a list for every month. Be a chronic list maker. When you have a series of things to do, the first thing you do is grab a piece of paper and write a list. Think on paper. All good time managers think on paper. They make a list of everything that has to be done. They don't try to carry it around in their minds. Consolidate all of your thinking. If you have to accomplish something, write down every single thing that you're going to have to do in order to accomplish it, and then begin working on your list. Call it a to-do list. By the way, the best time to make a daily list is the night before. Because if you make a list the night before, the subconscious goes to work on it while you're asleep, and in the morning sometimes the subconscious has organized it, processed it, and gives it back to you and solves problems for you while you're asleep. Step number 4, once you've made a list, and this is the key to time management, is set priorities. You see, there's never enough time to do everything if you're living a busy life. But there's always enough time to do the important things if you can decide what they are. Setting priorities means using the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule says that 80% of the value of what you do comes from 20% of what you do. If you have a list of 10 things to do, that 2 of those things will be worth all the rest put together. Setting priorities means always looking at what is called the vital few versus the trivial many. The vital few versus the trivial many. The 1 or 2 things that you can do that make a real difference. Now, most people waste their time not because they're not working hard or not because they're not busy, it's because they're working on the trivial many, and no matter how many of them they do, it doesn't make any difference. The truly successful people do a few things, they do the right things, they do things one at a time, and they stay with them until they're complete. So set priorities. A very simple time management system is what is called the ABCDE system. The ABCDE is very simple. A stands for top priority tasks. Number 1 must be done. B is secondary priority tasks, things that should be done. C are not particularly important tasks which could be done if you have enough time after you've done your A's and B's. And D is delegate, and E is eliminate. Then what you do is you take and you list all of your A goals from your list, and then you write A1, which is the most important of all. And then you write A2, which is the second A goal, and so on. And then you begin to work, and you work on your A1. And you never work on an A2 or a B of any order until your A1 is complete. Very simple. Now here's the key question for time management. This can be worth a fortune to you. It's been worth a fortune to me. Ask yourself over and over again. Repeat it and repeat it and repeat it until it rings in the back of your brain. What is the most valuable use of my time right now? What is the most valuable use of my time right now? What is the most valuable use of my time right now? Every time before you start any new task, ask yourself this question, and then discipline yourself to do only what is the most valuable use of your time. Remember, Benjamin Franklin had a beautiful line. He said, "Do you value life, then waste not time, for it is the stuff of which life is made." If you are not working on the most valuable use of your time, just exchange the word time for life. And say, what is the most valuable use of my life right now? And remember, if you are working on a second order priority, you are, relatively speaking, wasting your time and wasting your life. Number 5 is concentration of power. Again, a beautiful word from Charles Hobbes. Concentration of power means that you do first things first and second things not at all. Do first things first and stay with them until they're complete. Surprisingly enough, in the studies of every effective man or woman whose lifestyle has been examined, we find they're always doing first things first. They do things one at a time, and they stay with them until they are 100% complete. They don't do a lot of things, but they do the most important things. They do them right, and they carry them through to completion. You know, one of the most valuable attributes of executive life is the ability to carry a task through to completion. So once it's been assigned to you, the person who's assigned it to you never has to think about it again. Concentration and single handling. Single handling means once you've picked it up, don't put it down. Most of our time wastage comes from picking up things and putting them down, and starting them over and putting them down, and starting them over and putting them down. So concentrate single-mindedly, 100%, stay with it until it's finished. As in my estimation, the ability to concentrate is one of the most important abilities of success, because no success is possible unless you can concentrate single-mindedly on your most important task. Number 6. Number 6 is overcome procrastination. Overcome procrastination. It's not the thief of time, it's the thief of life. And the way that you overcome procrastination is by using affirmations. And the most powerful affirmation of all is do it now. Do it now. W. Clement Stone built a $1 billion fortune by rehearsing and then getting everybody in his company to say 50 times every morning, do it now, do it now, do it now, do it now, do it now. Drive that, impress that into your mind. When I first learned this simple technique, I used to find myself procrastinating just like we all do. But the more I repeated this, do it now, 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 the more you repeat it, the more you find that eventually it works automatically. And it has a tendency to drive you to start a task when your natural tendency is to put it off or procrastinate. The most important quality that you can develop with regard to this is what is called a sense of urgency. A sense of urgency means that you get on with it and you do the job fast. We said earlier that time is your most precious resource. Time is the scarcest and most precious resource of accomplishment in our civilization. And that people who have a sense of urgency are always the most valued people in our society. Develop what is called fast tempo. Fast tempo is essential to success. Fast tempo is essential to success. What that means is that the harder and the faster you work, the more energy you have. The harder and the faster you work, the more drive you have, the more you get accomplished. The more you get accomplished, by the way, the more tasks you conclude, the more energy and self-esteem you have, because every time you finish a task, you get a jolt of positive energy. Every time you procrastinate on a task, it tires you out and makes you depressed. So whenever you find yourself procrastinating, say to yourself, I have to develop a sense of urgency. I have to develop a sense of urgency. Do it now. Do it now. Do it now. And then work fast. Work fast. Work quick. You will find that if you will just pick up your tempo, you can get to a tempo that will enable you to go through more in 2 hours than the average person goes through in an entire day. In a study done by a business journal amongst 104 chief executive officers of major American corporations not long ago, they found a very interesting thing. They asked them what qualities would put a person most rapidly onto the fast track in their corporations. They said the two most qualities, 84% of them agreed, the two most important qualities, number 1, the ability to set priorities. Number 2 is a sense of urgency to get on with it and get the job done. And number 7, the 7th key to success is balance. Keep your life in balance. Make sure that you take time every day to spend with the people who are close to you. Make sure that you take time every day to think through your values. What is it that you really care about? Why are you doing what you're doing? What is it that you believe in that is relevant? And who are the people that you love? Who are the people that you care about and who care about you? Keep your life in balance. Don't let it get all work. Don't let it get all play. Don't let it get all anything. Keep your life in balance. Spend time with the people that you care about. Work hard when you work. Play hard when you play. Manage your time well. Control the sequence of events. And you can become anything that you want to become.